Welcome all. It's draft night again on Primetime Mock, bringing you a different industry draft with guests from all over the fantasy community. I'm the host of this draft party, Mark Shue. You can find me on Twitter at Primetime Mock, and we've got another good one here for you tonight. My guys, Shuey and Burner, here holding it down with me. Guys, how's it going?
Doing good, Mark. Glad to be back this week. Took a little vacation last week, took some time off, but I'm ready to get back into football mode here.
Yeah, you were telling me you had to come back early.
Yeah, unfortunately, my girlfriend had a knee injury, so we had to come back a little bit early. But took the rest of the week off work and just relaxed, sat on the couch, read some books, played some video games, but still got the time away from work that I needed.
That's what it's all about. Hope she's doing all right. Hope you got a little relaxation in there, had a little fun, and yeah, hope you're ready to come back at it this week here. Burner, what's going on, man?
Mark, if I was doing any better, I'd have to be twins just to handle it, brother. I'm happy to be back for another week, another episode. Primetime Mock right here every week.
Yeah, and we're switching it up. I had to do it Wednesday night because I'll be flying out early Friday morning for my sister's wedding in California, and so that means I'm just going to be more scatterbrained than I normally am in these drafts here. But let's get right to it. We're gonna introduce our panel and we're gonna get into this wide receiver draft. First off, we've got always auctions. Adam Siegel, go ahead. Adam, how are you?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean it's been great to meet you. I mean, like we kind of just connected a few weeks back, and I've been jumping in auction drafts. I'm a big auction fan. Got my own contract league that I commission, and I've been a big fan. We've been doing that, and I got to jump into Twitter Spaces with you last week. That was a ton of fun, and I'm glad that we can make it full circle and have you out here on Primetime today.
Absolutely, thank you so much.
Yeah, all right, and you know what? I'm just gonna press you for a second because we got you here. You took Diggs at 102. Where you've got him as your 2 this year. Go ahead and explain that for me.
Yeah, I think that the conventional wisdom might have been to take Kupp at number 2, since I was going to take Jefferson if you didn't take him. But I think with Diggs, he has the possibility to finish, as the wide receiver 1, whereas I think Kupp, he's going to have a great season, but I don't think he repeats as the wide receiver 1 this year. So I just went with the guy who I think has the better possibility to finish as the wide receiver 1 in that high-powered offense.
I like that, but you're going to have to get up a little earlier in the morning to get Justin Jefferson from me. All right. From the Fantasy Face-Off, along with Adam, we have Steven Ramsbottom. Steven, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. Glad to be on here, man. Thanks.
Yeah. You're in that auction group with us as well. We get to chat it up a little bit, talk auction prices and talk trades and all that stuff. It's a good time. All right. And you got to go with Chase right there. We're letting Kupp fall here. Shuey's getting a discount, I think, on Kupp here a little bit. Go ahead and talk Chase for me real quick.
Yeah, I just think he's gonna have a bigger year. I think Kupp's gonna have. I don't see him repeating either. It wouldn't shock me if he's out of the top 4 or 5 finishes. Really, I think Robinson's gonna really be big on that team. And he's going to cut into the work. He's going to be seeing the second corner. And so he's just going to have – the opportunities are going to be too good to pass up. So I see some of the work shifting more to him a little bit.
Yeah, I can only see the connection between Chase and Burrow really growing stronger. They're going to have – obviously, they're going to get more defensive attention. They're always were going to get more defensive attention because they're now at least Super Bowl contenders in everybody's eyes. Whereas last year they were just sort of contending to make the playoffs, and we were hoping for a good season. Now they've got expectations on their back, so that defense is going to come. But I think ultimately Chase is going to help keep this offense going.
The big plays. He's got the big play potential.
Exactly. I think there's no real answer for Chase, to be honest, and you can't go wrong. We can't go wrong with any of these picks here at the top. And now that we've talked Chase into oblivion, we're gonna move away from Jamar Chase and bring in Andrew Hall. Andrew, how's it going, man?
It's going well, but I don't want to move on from Jamar Chase. You kidding me? It's my guy. I wore it specifically so I could get Chase. So like maybe he falls. Nah.
Well, you got to get into the draft a little higher. You know, he who drafts first gets his pick, right?
That's true. That's true. But no, good to be here. Good to be here.
It's good to have you back. I think you were on the quarterback draft last year with us?
Yeah, I think that's the one I was on. Yeah.
I think you were on the quarterback draft with us. That was one of my favorite shows of last year, actually. And glad to have you back. Was glad to meet you at the expo this year, and I hope to maybe meet up with you again this year.
I'll be there. Let's do it.
All right, and moving on, he is back for another week after a questionable tag at the beginning of last week. He came on, wasn't feeling too hot, but he was, he came on, still gave it. He's back, ready to talk wide receivers. I know his voice is ready. From his own fantasy football perspective, it's the golden-throated swallow himself, Hutchinson Brown. What's going on, Hutch?
How you guys doing today? Mark, thank you so much again for having me on. But yeah, my voice is back unlike last week, and I'm ready to talk today. Ready to have some fun. This draft's already going really nicely. I like where this draft's already headed.
There we go. Yeah, I mean it's always a fun time getting to draft these positions. I really like to focus in when we do these drafts because for me ADP doesn't really matter all that much until we get really sort of close to redraft season. I'm really just going off of the guys I like. And until ADP takes form in draft season, it doesn't make all that much of a difference to me. So I love bringing in anyone who's really willing to give their opinions and get their guys to iron out how we can where the creases are in these different positions, and wide receiver is such a deep one and a talented position group nonetheless that it's always a fun group to chop up.
Yeah, like we really don't know where ADPs are yet because obviously like home leagues aren't really drafting yet. Like home leagues aren't really going to be drafting for a couple weeks. The only people that are really drafting are us like analysts. Like home leagues aren't really drafting yet, so we don't really know where guys' ADPs are going to exactly be at yet. I feel like in the next few weeks, as home leagues start to get together, people start to get together for their leagues, ADPs are going to be switching up a lot. And I was just talking about, I was literally like on a live stream from 7, 8 p.m. tonight. I was talking with Ryan Weiss and Joshua Hudson. And we were like, man, I think these like bigger name guys like, we were talking about some bigger name players, some guys with like name value. Those guys are probably going to go up, while some guys that are more fantasy relevant and less NFL relevant might dip a little bit at ADP.
All right, and finally, our last drafter here tonight. He's a writer for Going for Two. Zach Polowski. Zach, what's going on, man?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm glad I could finally join you guys. Shuey's told me plenty of good things.
I'm happy to have you here, man. And of course, I'm on the clock as I'm about to start the show. But guys, we can start here at the top. I was talking before about elite tier, platinum tier players here on Primetime Mock. Those are candidates for number one. Justin Jefferson is the number one candidate for me to be that number one player. Obviously, I took him there. He's already saying his goal is to shoot for 2,000 yards. I love the offensive shakeup for the Minnesota Vikings going here now. I think another year with Kirk Cousins under his belt, I think he can, in his third year, he can really take off, and I'm really excited for it. Who are the rest of the players in our elite tier candidates for number one? And I'm gonna time out here. This is a no-no. It's a panic pick. All right. And I've got another one. My God. Who are some of our elite tier players? Let's go to Shuey. Go ahead and give me some elite tier, platinum tier players for you.
My four platinum. Actually, no, I lied. My four platinum guys I have right now are Kupp at number 1, Jefferson 2, Chase 3, and Adams 4. Diggs is kind of one of those guys that teeter-totters between that platinum and gold. I just think that those other 4 guys have a better opportunity of getting into that number 1 overall slot. I still have Kupp number 1. I think that with the year he showed last year and the chemistry he showed with Stafford, it's hard not to put him at number 1. I think there'll definitely be a little bit of regression from last year, but I still think he has the best shot of putting up that number 1 slot this year.
Yeah, and for me, I really try my best when I keep them within those tiers. I've got Kupp in that tier as well. But I really try my best not to differentiate due to variance, especially because, again, through different formats, there are slight differences that make me take Kupp or even Chase or Diggs over Jefferson. Not many, but right now I could see myself taking, and especially if you're a person who drafts a lot of fantasy leagues, a lot of best balls, you really want to have a good mixture of all those elite tier, platinum tier players.
Yeah, I've been taking Jefferson and Chase over Kupp in best ball leagues.
I would say Jefferson and Kupp are often my two answers at wide receiver 1. But really I don't see any reason why not. I feel like I'm higher on Diggs than most. I haven't probably taken him as high as Adam took him here tonight, but all of them really fit into my platinum tier. Bernard, do you have any others that you can add to that platinum?
No, honestly, that pretty much nails it for me. Except I would be in the boat of Justin Jefferson, probably taking the number 1 spot over Cooper Kupp. But I mean, the tier is pretty much the same for me.
Sure. I think if you're a dynasty player, it's definitely Jefferson. Obviously, that's.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing stopping you from taking Jefferson every time in that scenario. But really, yeah, Kupp. I think he's still gonna be rock solid this year, and he will be a wide receiver 1. Does anybody else have anybody in that candidate for number 1 overall player other than those 4 that we discussed? No.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, it's really. I think honestly, I don't have him ranked that high, but I do want to give a shout out to CeeDee Lamb, who I honestly think could break into that tier this year. I mean, this dude, elite talent coming out of college. He's in an offense with a great quarterback, just going to be a productive offense. He's the clear number 1 on this team, and I think there's absolutely a world where he can be the number 1 overall receiver. I don't have him in that top tier. I have him at wide receiver 8 in the second tier. In my PPR rankings, but I think there's definitely a world where he gets up there in that range.
Yeah, so Hutch is right ahead of me. He's going into who can pop into that top 4 now that we're in our gold tier. So yeah, I like CeeDee Lamb as a guy who can do that as well. Again, the offense is going to have to run through him as far as pass catching is concerned. Him and Dalton Schultz, I think, are going to be the biggest beneficiaries of that, and ultimately Dak for me is still an accurate quarterback, and he's gonna keep moving the chains, getting you first downs. They're gonna get first downs with Zeke and Pollard, and that offense is gonna be moving. You can't deny the wide receiver 1 in an offense like that.
Well, I'll just jump in and say CD is definitely one of those players that can be in that elite platinum tier, right? He's definitely got the skill set. I'm just worried that offense is going to be a little clunky. Without Gallup, without Amari Cooper, there's going to be a difference, and they're going to have to figure that out. And so I'm a little bit hesitant to say that he's in that top tier just because he could stumble a little bit out of the gate, or there could be a couple of weeks here and there where defenses figure him out. And that, to me, is what makes him in that second tier, and he's a prime candidate for that because his upside is wide receiver 1. I agree with Hutch.
Yeah.
The argument always comes in the gold tier.
That's right.
The disagreement always comes in the gold tier. Who are some other players? Anybody? I'm looking to open it up to the floor. Who are some players in this gold tier? I'm looking at, for me, I'm looking at Adams, Samuel, Lamb, Hill. I mean, really, this whole gold tier goes into what is our round 2. That's 16 picks in. I would say even into round 3, I would take Cortland Sutton at. What is that? Pick 19. He's in my gold tier. I have him as a top 10 wide receiver in my rankings right now. With the offense from Russell Wilson and all that. He's got the draft capital. He's always been productive when he's on the field. After his injury, he obviously had a down year. That happens with most players. Cooper Kupp is one of those players who had a down year, and then he came out and was the wide receiver 1. I don't see a reason why that can't happen for Sutton this year. He's timing out again. This is my own show here. All right, he's got the chemistry, or he's at least got the ear of Russell Wilson. If we're going to talk about the cup of coffee narrative, he's already got that with Russell Wilson, and he's he's been rock solid for the Broncos. I think this offense is going to be injected and brought to life through Russell Wilson. And again, for a guy like Sutton coming through, for me, I'm not going to take him as wide receiver 10, but I'm gonna value him there.
I think one guy.
I like Cortland Sutton a lot. I agree.
I think one guy that we haven't touched on yet that I think is going to have another huge year, and this will make the Bengals fans very happy, is T. Higgins. I think him and Chase are just going to absolutely pop this year. And if we're talking like auctions, he's the 10th most expensive wide receiver right now. His AAV is only about $22. And he's a guy I'm targeting in all my auction salary cap drafts. I think they are going to have, both he and Chase are going to have just monster years.
I agree. Houday.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's hard to not rank them both sort of in the top 15 for. I mean, like I can't see a way to get T. Higgins out of the top 15 for me. Like
he's at number 9 for me.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, and I'm totally fine with that. Again, for me, gold tier. From 5, 6 to 13, 14, 15, all those players for me, I try to keep them sort of on an even keel, so I'm not looking too far ahead on an injury here, or a situation change there might flip any of those guys in one direction or another for me.
Come on, Andrew.
Yeah,
that was nice.
Got you step back then. It's okay.
As far as Deebo, he's definitely high up in the gold. And I think if we knew for sure he was going to get the carries again, he could even flirt with the platinum if we knew for sure that he was going to get used in that running game.
Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's going to be just it's hard to look at what Deebo did last year with Jimmy G, who is not that great of a quarterback, guys. I know everybody wants him to play for Seattle, but if he goes to Seattle, he's not going to be that great of a quarterback either. He's as far as yardage and touchdowns are concerned, he's not throwing all that many. He's the game manager, and Deebo still balled out. Obviously, you're looking to see those running back snaps down, but to be honest, I kind of try not to even think about those running back snaps unless they're to the point where it's overly substantial. Right. He's still going to get some. He's still going to get plenty. It's not going to be as many, but the yardage, especially in the age where we're playing mostly PPR and half PPR, the catches and the integration in the offense is really all you need. And he's going to score touchdowns. He can score from anywhere on the field. When he gets the ball in his hands, the reason that they love using him as a running back is because when he gets the ball in his hands, no matter where he is on the field, he looks like a running back, and he can find the hole. He can find his way, weave his way through traffic, and find himself in the end zone without you even thinking about it. And we got our Julio Jones pick right there. Shuey's shaking his head, but that's all right. All right, going back down here. Were there any other gold tier members that we wanted to highlight?
I want to give a shout out to Mike Evans, who I honestly think has a realistic chance of breaking the receiving touchdown record this year with Tom Brady in this offense, with, Chris Godwin still, concerning for week 1 with Antonio Brown gone, with Gronk gone. I don't think Julio Jones is going to make much of an impact, honestly. I honestly think he's washed. I honestly think he's washed. I think he can't stay on the field. Russell Gage is not a supreme talent. So I honestly think if Mike Evans really steps up in target share, gets that from Tom Brady, those two have had a connection since they've been together. I think Mike Evans could absolutely jump into that platinum tier this year.
I agree with that, though. I like Mike a lot. That. We've seen him produce with every type of quarterback. There's no question there with the talent level. And I don't necessarily want to say Julio's washed, but I don't want to bet at all that he'll stay on the field for more than 4 to 6 games. I feel like
Julio's going to be injured before the show's over.
Could happen.
Disrespect on this man's name.
Yeah.
My goodness. This is prime speculation season, right? And everybody's just speculating whatever they think, whatever their gut is telling them. I'm not against that. I do it myself. But my gut says that Julio is coming in with a chip on his shoulder, He's going to Tom Brady, who knows where to put the ball, who's an old man himself. He's not going to throw him into danger. I think Julio is going to be more of a tight end, if I'm being honest. I think he's going to be like a move tight end. He's going to be in the slot, working inside. He's a tall, big frame dude who could get a ton of touchdowns in 6 games. Right? Everybody wants to crap on his injury ability. He wasn't injured that much leading up to that. And even when he was, he played. So I'm thinking this man's still got something left in the tank. I think he's got something left to prove. That's why I took Julio at 9-4 in this draft, which I'm sure we'll get into. But I just think he's got some upside at this range, and later in the draft, wide receiver 70-something. Why not? You know what I mean? Like, what could go wrong? Like, honestly, you guys are all crapping on Julio, but he's still a professional NFL player. I think he's going to be fine. Come on.
Hold on. I wasn't crapping on Julio.
Oh, I know.
That was me.
To be honest, I actually think the way that Julio story works out, that to me, if I'm thinking about Julio on the Bucs and what that storyline will look like this year, he plays game 1, game 2, maybe game 3, and he probably has a game where he's got one or two touchdowns, and maybe 1 or 2 games with 1 or 2 touchdowns. And then we probably don't see him. He probably gets injured. He's probably making his way, keep himself healthy. And then they really just rest him up till he gets to the playoffs. So he's learning the offensive system while he's on the team, but he's not necessarily being the wide receiver 1 or even the wide receiver 2. But he's in there at red zone packages. He's in there, he's in there on important first downs. And then as he gets closer to the end of the season, that's when they're really going to be using him and hoping that they can have him for the playoffs and be the Julio that they want him to be. But ultimately, do I think that he's a full year like wide receiver 3? No, definitely not. But do I think that he's an early easy stardom guy when you have rookies that you're not really that sure of on your bench, or you have players that that you're not so sure of starting in your flex in the first 2 weeks after maybe you've got an injury? I would say Julio's a guy you can at least feel comfortable at the beginning of the season putting in, and if it doesn't work out, just drop him, and then and that's it.
And
Sorry, go ahead, Andrew.
I just want to say one last thing. He's going as wide receiver 68 in this draft. You're not starting him at wide receiver 68. Let's be clear. He's on your bench. Yeah. But this is the prime player that you pick up in drafts at your 15th, 18th round, whatever you want to do, and you stash him, and he blows up, and you trade him. That's the goal here. You don't start this guy, but he's not nothing. You know what I mean? Like Gronkowski was nothing.
I got no problem at 68.
I think the real. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't have much of a problem there either.
The real value of Julio is exactly what you're getting is when he's getting the snaps. When one of the guys are injured and they need a wide receiver 2, he's in there and he'll be a great wide receiver 2 for you in fantasy that week. And if he's not healthy, you don't play him. And so really it's almost like if you know when the situation is to start him, when the situation is to leave him, and when the situation is that he can't play, you could probably stuff him on your IR for a couple weeks and come back and he'll start and you'll still want to play him.
I just want to finish with this. If you're starting Julio Jones this year, your season has gone off the rails. Right? Let's just be honest. You shouldn't be starting him. Yeah. But I'm saying I don't mind drafting him. Everybody's like, he's done, he's washed. No, I'd much rather have him over some of these other later flyers.
I think a lot of the hate and frustration was from so many days where he was questionable all the time, and you didn't know even when they said he was going to play, you always wondered, were they putting him out there as a decoy? Is he really healthy and going to do? And I think just that it was just so hard to start him so many times.
And the other thing to remember is every one of these offensive signings has the Tom Brady seal of approval. There is no way he is on that team if Brady says he's washed. There's no way.
And a couple more things on the Julio argument. I mean, you're picking him up at this cost to hopefully he has a good game in the first couple of weeks before he gets hurt, and then sell him as high as you can to someone who still believes that Julio Jones has it. And one last thing with the Julio Jones argument. I mean, he's been a free agent for a long time, guys. He's been a free agent for a while, and nobody's picked him up. Nobody. It's been a while.
Wait. So is your argument because he's been available, he isn't good because nobody wants him? We don't know that. He might have been waiting for the right team. We don't know that. You're speculating that. We don't know that.
Yeah, no, but nobody's. I feel like if NFL teams believed in him, he would have been picked up much earlier.
But Julio could have also been demanding a lot more money than he was realistically deserving.
Yes.
Or wanting to go to a contender like the Bucks. Like, let's be honest, like the Bucks thought Gronkowski was coming back until 2 weeks ago, right? And then they picked up Kyle Rudolph off the scrap heap. Like, they're trying to find anybody they can to get in there. But if I'm Julio, I'm not signing with a team that isn't like Houston. I'm not signing to Houston. I'm not going to Jacksonville. I'm not going to a rebuild. Like, I'm way too old for that. And at the same time, you don't need training camp. You don't need preseason. Why am I going to sign early and do any of that crap? No, thanks. I'll wait. Like, there's no negative to it.
I'm not a Julio believer. I don't have much shares of him in regards to all my fantasy leagues. However, I like the pick at that value.
Yeah.
In that round, I'm kind of just looking at guys where low cost, who could potentially give me a few good weeks. That's all I need. If I have other injuries and I'm just trying to fill a void, or if it's a heavy bye week and he can produce for me that 1 week, awesome. I didn't spend much to get it.
I'm gonna make the executive decision that we've talked too long about Julio Jones.
I know.
And we're gonna move past it. It's okay, no problem. I love when we get heated on here, but we can't talk about Julio for much longer.
I like skipping over the first 8 rounds and going right to the ninth.
We shouldn't have had the Julio Jones conversation right in the middle of the gold teal conversation, because now we're now we're like, wide receiver 68, it definitely makes sense. Let's move it back. Who are some of our guys now? Who are some of those guys that you're getting as your wide receiver 3, maybe that you feel like can take that leap into a little more consistency? We know that wide receiver 3 group, it can be like 40 players, 50 players wide, and it's just what's the matchup, who's injured, who's in, who's out, take your pick, and that's sort of how it goes. Who are some of the guys that you see in this wide receiver 3 group? For me, I look at Rashad Bateman, and that's a guy for me that I think can move into a more consistent player if the offense does the. You got him on? Is that right? There we go.
Had to get him on for this episode.
There we go. So he's my guy. Apparently, Shuey and I are of like mind. Apparently, well, at least when it comes to Ravens picks.
There's not many of them to pick from.
Yeah, well, I think ultimately the trading away of Marquise Brown, I mean, it's a smart pick. It was a smart play. Ultimately, getting a 3rd round pick, trading away, getting a first, getting a first and a third getting a 3rd rounder.
I think we just got a straight first from. We picked Lindenbaum.
No, you got a later 3rd, or you got next year's 3rd. That's what it was basically. If you look at that trade and you look at the pick value chart that the NFL puts together, it was almost stupid for them not to have made that trade because of the 3rd round pick, the 3rd round comp that comes to him after that. Coming through with Bateman, taking himself into that wide receiver 1 role. He is that X. Often, he's going to be a main part of that offense. He finds all those sweet spots in the defense that you're looking for. That Lamar's going to be looking to. He seems like. He seems like he's a really, he's a big receiver. He's got that sort of nose for the end zone, and he can sort of come down and grab the ball. I'm not going to try and get too big into camp hype, but I saw that pass from Lamar earlier today. That was just glorious. Are there other wide receiver 3s we're looking at, or at least ranked as wide receiver 3s that we can see popping into that consistent, more of a wider, an every week starter?
One guy I want to highlight is Brandon Cooks. I got him in this round, in the 4th round. I think he is undoubtedly one of the most underrated and undervalued wide receivers in the NFL. With it's unfortunate that John Mechie is going to miss the year, but even before that, the Texans are going to be playing catch up a lot this season, and Cooks, he's going to be. I think in a lot of, casual leagues, he's going to be neglected again. And I think that, he could be a guy that, your league mates potentially forget about. I mean, just in the last two seasons in Houston alone, he's averaged 126 targets, almost 1,100 yards, and 6 touchdowns. I mean, that's a guy that's giving you, wide receiver 2 numbers for a guy that's being drafted in redraft and in auctions as a wide receiver 3. And in auction specifically, his AAV is a little under $11. I'll take that all day for my wide receiver 3.
I want to throw in. All right, sorry, Hutch. I was just going to say I want to throw in Darnell Mooney as well. Look, the Bears are going to suck this year. I don't think anyone's arguing about that. But you can get their main producers in that offense for relatively cheap to what they can give you. Darnell Mooney is by far and away the best guy, and in the receiving core. I mean, Velas Jones, St. Brown, no one's considering them as threats to get targets. And with Darnell Mooney, we don't necessarily know what he looks like with Justin Fields at QB. It's a very small sample size, but we also don't know what to expect with this offense. Nagy's finally out of there. So I think getting Darnell Mooney at 4.7 like I did, I love that price for what I could potentially get.
Mooney was the guy I was going to bring up too.
Mooney's a good one.
He had 140 targets last year, which was good for 11th among wide receivers and 12th among all players. And he kind of flew under the radar for most of the season last year until late. So I think he's definitely one of those guys that can make that jump into like a consistent wide receiver too. And they didn't bring anybody in. So
they brought in N'Keal Harry. What are you talking about? The 101 of a few years ago that was super talented. And the next generational. Oh, am I wrong? I'm getting word that that's not correct. Okay, so we're fine.
I forgot to even mention Harry. Yeah,
not worried. Exactly. No. Not worried about Harry. I think Harry's a prime bench stash, like a last round in dynasty kind of thing, but he's not going to be anything.
Oh, who's the Chiefs receiver they signed that I think he got arrested? No. I'm talking about
Pringle.
Byron Pringle. I've already forgotten his name. That's how
their wide receiver room is roster clogger city. I mean, it's just
when you're on the Chiefs, you are relevant. You are fantasy relevant. When you transfer to the Bears, your name is immediately forgotten. It is erased. It is erased from everyone's mind.
And one other thing on Rashad Bateman too is I think he's a guy that's tough to assess. He played a very limited amount of games with Lamar because Bateman was hurt part of the year, then Lamar was hurt part of the year. We saw them together very small amount of time. So it's tough to really look at that year one and know what we have. You have to remember the Ravens were aggressive in drafting him. And also, hey, not every rookie is going to produce like Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase year one, and that doesn't make them a bad receiver going forward. So for getting Bateman where I'm getting him at, I love what he could give me this year.
It's also worth noting that he was a sophomore level breakout and ended up catching COVID and not playing his entire junior season. Still came out, still was a first round wide receiver, and honestly, he was one of my favorite wide receivers coming out of the class last year behind Chase and Waddle and Devontae Smith. He was my fourth rookie wide receiver last year. Yeah. And I really think that the injury with coming in sort of off an off year, COVID year, getting his way into the offense, he still put up some nice plays. Obviously, there are some rookie mistakes here and there, but I tend to looking at him on film, he just seems to always be in the right place, and he always seems to know where to put his body or put his body that he's blocking the receiver or the defender to get the ball, and he has that leverage ability while you're up in the air, while you're in the tussle with a cornerback or a defensive back that often wins you the ball. So I just feel really strong. I feel really confident about Rashad Bateman. He's still going to be a wide receiver 2 for me, really, if you're thinking about it in fantasy terms. But I'm really, really happy with him, especially in Dynasty.
Yeah. And can I throw one more name out there for the wide receiver 3s?
By all means.
I am all in on Elijah Moore this year, wide receiver from the New York Jets. He is somebody that I want to give a shout out here because, he was putting up top 5 numbers in stretches with backups at quarterback. And we didn't see him much with Zach Wilson, unfortunately, because Zach Wilson was hurt a lot of the year. And then Elijah Moore got hurt late in the year. But you want to say they added Garrett Wilson, but he's a rookie, and someone was saying earlier, not every rookie is Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, right? Elijah Moore is still probably the easy number 1 receiver for this team. And if Zach Wilson really takes that step and makes like a solid second year, even if he doesn't even have to, but if he does, that'd be really, really helpful for this offense. They just added Breece Hall, a stud running back. I think this offense is going to take a step forward, and I think Elijah Moore is going to be a big part of that. Elijah Moore is a top 20 wide receiver in my rankings right now. He's at wide receiver 20 for me in PPR. I absolutely love him. And I want to give a shot. Someone who's outside the wide receiver 3 range, but someone who I got as the wide receiver 46 in this draft, Brandon Ayuk. I don't know if you guys remember, but the first half obviously sucked, right? Doghouse, it was bad. Okay? But then Deebo Samuel kind of transferred to being a running back, right? And Brandon Ayuk out-targeted, I'm trying to say like he got more receptions than him.
Out-caught?
Got more out-caught. Yeah, out-caught. That's a good word. Thank you. Out-targeted, out-caught, out-receiving yarded. That's definitely not a right word.
I actually like your terms a lot better, Hutch, to be honest.
Yeah.
It makes my math gap from last week feel a lot better.
Yeah, it makes me sound a lot dumber.
I get what you're saying. Like, the words aren't right, but I get what you mean.
Right.
Like, he outdid everything.
Better receiver than Deebo Samuel in weeks 10 through 18. And that second half, he was a top 20 wide receiver in PPR for fantasy football. Like, I feel like Brandon, and there's still contract disputes with Deebo right now. And I feel like there's a lot of those contract disputes still. They might not pay him all the money they want to because they feel like they may have something in Brandon Ayuk where he could be their wide receiver 1. So I'm very confident in Brandon Ayuk this year. I absolutely love him in his current ADP. I've got him just outside my top 30 wide receivers, and he's going outside the top 40 in most drafts. So I think Brandon Ayuk is someone to look at, but not really wide receiver 3. But I wanted to give him a shout out.
He can be a field stretcher for them too.
Yes, he can stretch the field.
Lance loves to chuck it. So yeah, he could be a real big deep threat this year.
That's a great point. Yeah.
I mean, if you can get him, if you can still get, what did you say, wide receiver 47? We got him in this draft.
He was 42 on Sleeper. I got him at 46 in this draft. He fell a little bit because I think you guys went with Olave and Wilson and Kirk and Woods, some guys that were behind him. So he fell to me at 46.
Yeah, to be honest, my pick right before that, I went Renfrow Tony. I like Renfrow, even though he's obviously losing some attention or losing some pass catching maybe with Devontae Adams there, but I still think he's a very consistent receiver, and he's gonna be part of it. And then Tony, I really like the upside. But when you have your wide receiver build, if you're looking for someone really safe in that position, like if you maybe started with a late wide receiver sort of drafting strategy, a 0 wide receiver drafting strategy, Zach, I'm coming to you in a minute. If you have sort of one of those late wide receiver strategies, Ayuk is a really, really safe pick on that in that back 40. Yeah. I would really like that. It's gonna bring me to Zach. I'm gonna bring this to you in a second because we're talking about now. If we're going into 0 wide receiver, where's that first run? Where's the cutoff line for that first wide receiver you're willing to take? If you're really willing to punt on this position, where are you willing to wait? And I'm looking at this right now, and there's not many that are in here that I would say no to. But it looks like for me, Brandon Cooks at 402 in this draft. That would be wide receiver 26. I would say for me, that would be my biggest. Zach, where are you? And then go ahead and tell us about your Scott Fishbowl 0 wide receiver build.
So I punted a lot more aggressively than most people in Scott Fishbowl. My first one was at 811, and then 902. I got Devonta Smith, and then Michael Thomas, Jacoby Myers, Alan Lazard.
Oh, I love Jacoby Myers.
Same. And I think for me, I just know it's a really deep position. There's a lot of guys that are wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2s on teams that might not be a pass-heavy offense, but I know that there's potential opportunity there, and relative to the price I'm paying, it's a good value. And especially in some unique formats, I prioritize scoring from certain positions more so, especially in Scott Fishbowl quarterbacks. If you have the elite of the elite, that's the importance there. Same thing with tight end premiums as well. I don't necessarily always like rolling it back this far, but my cutoff is a lot further down the line than you at that 4-2 with Brandon Cooks there. I like a lot of guys that are Devonta Smith type guys, Hunter Renfrow, where they're benefiting from this other major focal point in the offense where the defenses are going to be game planning around A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams, where I think suddenly when you have Devonta Smith, Renfrow, other guys like that lining up against lesser quality cornerbacks, they're going to get better matchups and therefore produce more. So for me, I want to bet on that. Obviously, if you can get the guys in those offenses where the passing attempts are there, that's awesome, but it's tough because a lot of these teams, Bills, for example, you don't know who that wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 is going to be and how much of a volume will be there. And that's where in this draft, for example, I took Christian Watson and Sammy Watkins. I don't know who the wide receiver 2 is or the wide receiver 1. It's tough to say with that team. Same with Kansas City, but that's where I want to take maybe 2 or 3 guys there. take a gamble, and most of them are going to be cheap. And suddenly, if that guy that I took as their 4th wide receiver for the Packers is suddenly the wide receiver 1 or 2, it's just great value relative to what I paid.
Anybody else want to weigh in? What's a guy if you have a last wide receiver you're targeting, like who I've got to get, I have to leave my draft with at least this receiver as my wide receiver 1. Who do we got? Andrew Hall. I saw you.
So yeah, if you're talking about like a 0 wide receiver build where you're really hammering home all those other positions and you're kind of punting receiver, I'm fine getting someone like Robert Woods as my wide receiver 1. To be honest, he's the wide receiver 1 on Tennessee at this point. I mean, Burks is a rookie; he's going to have to prove it. I'm not 100% sold that Burks isn't better than Woods. I mean, maybe they're about the same, but that's kind of where, I mean, again, I got him here at 6'5", which would put him, like 45th receiver? You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy low. That's not a starter in most leagues. I'm fine getting Woods, Lockett, Pickens as my 3 receivers. I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? Like, those are all 3 guys I think I could live with. And in all honesty, if I'm going 0 receiver and going heavy running back and tight end.
So let me ask you if I may, what kind of build do you think that would look, what kind of build would that take for you to sort of get to that point where you're drafting wide receiver 1?
Not the only, but the main league that I would find myself doing that in is clearly Superflex, clearly tight end premium, and clearly start 2 receiver, not start 3 receiver, not start 4 receiver, but start 1 or 2 receiver. Then I can get away with that. That's pretty much where my head goes. Sure. If there are some leagues I'm in that you have to start 3 running backs, 3 receivers, 2 tight end, like all these other, that changes a little bit of the calculus. There are others on the other end where it's like a mega flex where you have, a quarterback, a super flex, and 9 flexes. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you can just kind of be whatever you want to be, right?
Sure.
So at that point, you're just going pure points per game. So it kind of varies depending on the league, but the formats where you don't need that many receivers or there aren't a lot of bonuses to them or the other players are getting more bonuses or things like that, I'm fine going later and later and later, like Woods, Lockett, Pickens, even Julio, to be honest. We were just talking on him before. If he ends up being my wide receiver 3 in a league where I only have to start 2 receivers, okay. You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay with that because there's so many receivers after wide receiver 60 that could, like we were just talking about these guys, like even Sammy Watkins, Nico Collins, Jahan Dotson, these guys could blow up and be huge. Like, but at that point, my running back and my tight end groups are so stacked, I'm not really worried about it.
Yeah, in most start 2 wide receiver formats, unless I'm getting my platinum tier again, like those top 4 guys, I'm probably going to go 3 running backs to be honest, depending on where I am.
That's a major part for me with going the 0 wide receiver route. For example, with my Scott Fishbowl draft, I didn't plan to go that way or expect to go that way, but go into the draft with a specific idea of what you're going to build and then be adaptable. I realistically expected to have a wide receiver in, say, round 4, but I kept seeing all these running backs I liked, and suddenly I have 4 running backs where I can stash them, in the flex, bye weeks, or that's a position that's always hurt, and I've got great options. So, hey, if I'm reaping the reward elsewhere, that's fine. It might get a little ugly, but I get nervous with some of that middle tier production at wide receiver where 1 week it's 20, 1 week it's 4 to 6. Even in PPR formats, where if I can depend more on a running back that I know is consistently going to get a few carries, a few little dump passes, I'll get more consistent fantasy production there.
Now, one of the guys that Zach took when he went to 0 wide receiver was Michael Thomas. What's everybody's thoughts on him?
I'm just done. I'm honestly just done. I really don't. I'm just done. Yeah, I can't. I want to click, like, every time I see him, I want to click the draft button. I just can't do it.
So where does he have to fall for you to click?
Actually, can I corral this and we're just gonna go down the line on this, okay? Here's the question I'm posing to everybody: Michael Thomas or Chris Godwin, and where are you comfortable taking them in a draft? What round are you comfortable taking them in a 12-team, we'll say 3 wide receiver draft? Let's go. Okay. Who wants to take this first? I'm gonna pick on Burner because you're at the end of the line. We're gonna come all the way back. Burner, go ahead and give me your pick: Michael Thomas or Chris Godwin.
Let's see. So you're asking me, do I want Tom Brady throwing my receiver the ball or Jameis Winston?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Jeez.
Yeah, it's Godwin, and it's probably I'd probably be fine taking him around 3.
Yeah. See, well, yeah. The thing for me here is the value of the pick, right? I think Michael Thomas is still probably going to go behind Chris Godwin. I don't know. Again, I don't care what ADP says right now. I'm thinking he would probably go behind Chris Godwin, but obviously we're not going to know until a few weeks from now. So I thought you might get a little bit of a value dip. Zach, what about you?
No, and that's why I wanted to allude to my Scott Fishbowl draft. Godwin was still going way earlier in the draft, even though he's hurt. Obviously, if I'm picking one or the other without the price I'm paying, I'm going to take Godwin every time. But I looked at MT as someone who took 902 in the Scott Fishbowl, and for me there, as a team that needed a wide receiver, not many guys at that round are going to give me the potential upside that he could provide. Obviously, there's a lot of risk there. There's a big gamble, but hey, I just don't see many guys available in that round that could truly be a wide receiver one upside if they came back to their old form. So I'm going to take Michael Thomas if I'm including the price.
There you go. And Hutch, go ahead. We're just going to go right down the line backwards. Hutch, go ahead.
That's fine. I mean, I'm going to say, Michael Thomas, I see the upside. 9th round in the Scott Fishbowl I actually like. That's solid. But I think I'm going to take Chris Godwin still. I mean, he's looking healthy off that ACL tear. He's not on the pup. He's in training camp. So it's looking like he's going to be ready for week 1. He's going to be good to go. And if that's the case, that's the pick for me.
Andrew?
Well, if you're, again, in a vacuum, you're on the clock, they're both there, I'm taking Godwin. Now, where that is obviously changes everything. If I'm looking in the 3rd round, I'm probably not reaching for either of these guys in the 3rd round, in my opinion. I think I'm willing to wait. If they're there in the 4th round, I don't have a receiver, I might consider it, but I'm probably willing to wait until the 5th and see which one's there, to be honest. I feel like every draft is going to be so different, and you're going to have some, just like we were just talking about here, where the Scott Fishbowl drops to the 9th round.
The 4th.
No, I'm saying like 4th round, I might consider it, but probably not. 5th round is where I'm actually like hovering over that button, going, man, I don't know. But I'll put it this way: ECR and Fantasy Pros has Michael Thomas at 30 and Godwin at 31. So they are back to back in rankings, and ADP is all over the place, like we were saying. I think it's interesting that Thomas is ahead. I think part of that is, obviously these are rankings, so people have a little bit of aversion to drafting Godwin being injured. But we just heard recently, was it yesterday, I believe, even, that Godwin is likely to start the season. He's probably going to be okay to play all the games. Yeah. Now, he could get hurt again. He could take some time to get up to speed, all that. So there's some question marks there. But, I mean, in all honesty, both of these guys have risks. I think Burner nailed it. I mean, I'd rather have Brady than Winston, and I think that's the tiebreak for me. That's all it is.
I can get with that. So are we all kind of in consensus about Godwin straight up for sure? And then I think really it's let's see if either of them are there when I get to round 4 or 5.
I think Thomas is going to be one of those guys that Hutch mentioned earlier off a name value when home leagues come in. That's going to shoot up, and
he's going to shoot up.
For me, I actually think it's Thomas.
That's what I say. Yeah, Thomas is going to shoot up.
Yeah. As the training camp videos come out, as the hype comes out, he's going to be up there in ADP. I expect him to be in like the 4th, 5th round.
Yeah, and draft season, it's going to come down to health. I mean, Thomas, there's no question he's put together enough that the talent's there.
Yeah, it's
and he definitely Godwin has too.
I mean Godwin does too, but just saying that as far as the dropping down Thomas, and I think he's got a lot to prove. Between dealing with the injury, the slant boy, I think he took that as major disrespect, and I think he wants to prove that wrong. I mean, obviously Brady over Jameis, there's no question, but Jameis does have a 5,000-yard season. Jameis can't throw the ball, so I mean, it's not there's a lot of worse quarterbacks that get at throwing the ball.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like it's a lot closer than we think. Yeah. And are we're all good on that? I think we're ready to wrap up here. I want to get everybody to give me a quick rundown of their team. Really, give me if we can, because we're running out on time. Let's try and give me as much as you can tell me about your team in about 30 seconds. All right, we're gonna try that. All right, we'll see how it goes. Shuey, I'm gonna pick on. You know what? If I'm gonna make you all do it, I guess I might as well do it here. Okay, so Justin Jefferson, there's really not much that I have to say about that. Michael Thomas easily could be a wide receiver 1 for me. He could easily make himself into the top 10, and I believe I have him in my top 12. Michael Thomas, to be honest, right there for me, kind of for with Chris Godwin as far as a talent, as far as a receiver. He's a little older. You don't want him as much in Dynasty, but for this year, if he's there in training camp and he's the Michael Thomas that we've seen, he's been off the field long enough that it's hard to tell. But if you see that spark from him in preseason, I'm willing to say he'll be back and he'll be fine. Marquise Brown, I like the connection with Kyler Murray. There's a lot of upside here with Tony. He has a possibility of being a wide receiver 1. He put up wide receiver 1 numbers. I like the pass catching options with Jamison Crowder, with Devontae Parker, who could be an X for Mac Jones, and Josh Palmer to finish it off could be a wide receiver 3. Let's move it on to Adam.
Yeah, I mean, I think Diggs, like I said before, has the outcome to be the wide receiver 1 this year in that high-powered Bills offense. Waddle, he could end up being the number 1 wide receiver in Miami. He could be. Allen Robinson, love him this year. I think he's, again, in another high-powered offense. The reports out of Los Angeles say that McVay just absolutely loves this guy. Cooks touched on him. An anemic offense. They're going to be passing the ball a ton. He's the guy I'm targeting in auctions for sure. Lazard, if he's the number 1 wide receiver in Green Bay, with Rodgers throwing in the ball, that's great. Olave, possible candidate for Rookie of the Year. Galladay, the same thing with Cooks. They're going to be playing catch-up a lot of opportunities to catch a ton of passes. Tim Patrick flying under the radar, another really good wide receiver in Denver. I think he could end up making a huge leap this year. Marvin Jones, he could end up being the number 1 wide receiver in Jacksonville. They're going to be chucking the ball a lot this year. And McKenzie, if he ends up being the slot receiver for Buffalo, again, just another guy in a high-powered offense.
Yeah, I think to be honest, people are sleeping a little bit on Galladay, sleeping a little bit on Marvin Jones. I get that Galladay did not have a great year last year, but it's a completely new offense. I'm willing to kind of give everyone a clean slate, and at the price, it's really, it's all these guys have ability to break in and be productive receivers this year. Steve Ramsbottom, go ahead.
All right, I'll keep it quick and just touch on a couple of them. Obviously Chase, that's an easy one, not much to say. Big play guy, easily a top 3-4 receiver. Pittman, another year with a better quarterback. I think he can improve. I like Matt Ryan throwing to him. Judy, I think now he's got Russell Wilson. If he's healthy, he's an excellent route runner. So I think he can really have a fantastic year. Thielen, he knows how to get to the end zone. He's just always getting touchdowns. And then Hopkins, he's going to miss 6 games. Well, when he comes back, I think he's gonna pick right back up and show that the talent that he is. He's one of the top receivers. And then Rondell Moore, for the first 6 games that Hopkins isn't there, I think he can really get used and put into the offense a lot more.
Yeah, I like it. I like how you ended off with Van Jefferson. He's still growing in that offense. Obviously, you're not expecting him to outperform Kupp or even outperform Allen Robinson, but he's going to be a valuable part of that offense throughout the year. He's going to have games where he's going to pop off, and yeah, I really like that. And he could just take another step here this year. It might have been a little bit of a disappointing season, but at that price, I feel good about it. Shuey, let's see what you got for me.
All right, start off with Kupp. Kupp is Kupp. Don't got to talk about him too much. Deontay Johnson is one of those guys that some people have him as top 10, some people have him top 20. I kind of see him right in the middle there. I can never really decide to pick between him, Waddle, or DJ Moore. So I usually pick one, and then usually in these super flex drafts, someone usually makes their way back around, and I get the other one. Next up, Godwin. He's good. He's proved he can be good, and he's looking like he's going to be ready for the start of the season. St. Brown balled out last year, won me a couple leagues. So rolling with him again this year, he should be the number 1 guy. In Detroit, Juju is one of those guys that he could be a PPR machine in Kansas City. They've got to throw to somebody other than Kelsey. So right now he's looking like he could be that guy. Then Christian Kirk. I've been a Christian Kirk truther since he was drafted, and he got the money to be the number 1 guy there. So I think that if him and T-Law can get that connection, I think he can put up some really good numbers there.
Yeah, I like that too. Christian Kirk coming in is going to be a guy to help make the offense a little more consistent, I think, for Trevor Lawrence. He's going to have a good veteran receiver there. I don't know how stellar he's going to be as a fantasy receiver, but at least he's got two capable outside receivers there with Christian Kirk and Marvin Jones. He's got his safety blanket in ETN, and I feel good about that as well.
And real quick, him and Woods are 2 really great picks late that you can get to be either depth wide receivers, or if you kind of push it off a little bit. Those are two great guys that you can get there too.
You know what? I'm going to skip Andrew for just 1 second. Hutch, I know you've got to jump off here soon. So why don't you give us yours and you can sign off at the end here.
Yeah, I got to hop on in a couple minutes. Sorry, guys.
No worries. Go ahead.
I talked about a couple guys on my team, so I'm going to skip over a couple guys here. But Deebo Samuel, obviously, I mean, he's just the center of the offense. He's going to be used either as a running back or receiver. He's going to be used. T. Higgins next to Jamar Chase. This offense, unbelievable. T. Higgins is set up for a nice year. Cortland Sutton, if he gets that bond with Russell Wilson, over Jerry Jeudy, over Tim Patrick, we could see a top 10 season from him easily. We've seen him be fantasy relevant before. And I talked about Elijah Moore. Devontae Smith, I really like him because I think this Eagles team could take a step up in pass attempts. If Jalen Hurts really takes a step forward as a passer, I think this team could absolutely step up in pass attempts. And Devonta Smith could still be a relevant wide receiver. He is extremely talented. I feel like he had a very underrated rookie season because we watched what Jalen Waddle did, broke the reception record, watched what Jamar Chase did with his 1,400-plus yards. Devonta Smith put up 900-plus yards and had a 20+% target share in this Eagles offense. I think they're going to make an effort to make him a very relevant piece of this offense. And then I really love Jacoby Myers here. The volume's going to be there. He was borderline top 30 wide receiver last year. Mac Jones stepping in year 2. Probably a good setup there for Jacoby Myers to be a value. And then Jalen Tolbert, I'm going to give a shout out to one of these three guys. Jalen Tolbert, this Dallas wide receiver core is very thin. Outside of CeeDee Lamb, it's like, oh shoot, where are the receivers at? Michael Gallup's going to be gone, and it's like the receivers are very shallow here. I mean, James Washington looks like he might be like their third receiver. Like, it's scary right now for them. So if Jalen Tolbert gets first team reps, steps up a little bit, gets some good snaps, he could absolutely make an impact early. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Jahan Dotson's solid shot as a second receiver for the Washington Commanders, and Jarvis Landry, if Mike Thomas doesn't work out, he could be the number one receiver for the team.
Yeah, to be honest, I actually really like the Landry pick all on its own, even without
Michael
Thomas.
Landry.
I really do think that the Saints offense is going to be a little better than most people think. Obviously,
it depends on what happens with Kamara for me, because if Kamara gets suspended for like 6 to 8 games, they have no running backs. Like, that is a problem.
I understand that part of it, but yeah, I think he's probably going to skirt it the way that everything's going.
He might, yeah.
I want to,
like
at least for this year, it looks like they might skirt it. Although I don't know, I don't want to get into it. Let's hope justice is found, guys. That's all we're really looking for.
Yes.
But Landry, I do really think that offense might be a little better. They still have consistency. Even though the Sean Payton era is kind of over, I think that the team itself, and Michael Thomas being there, a veteran like Jarvis Landry, Jameis Winston has been working in New Orleans for what? Is this his third season now, or is it just his second? I think it's his third, right?
Winston's only his second season with Saints, right? Or is it his third? I thought it was only his second season.
No, this will be his third
season.
He redshirted a year, and then he played for a little bit, got himself injured. And to be honest, he wasn't the best. He wasn't the best quarterback, but he was at least not turning the ball over, and he was running an efficient offense. I think you can see a very similar offense this year that's going to be efficient.
Yeah.
And to be honest, a guy like Landry fits right into that. And even without Kamara, think about where those passes are going to go if Kamara's gone. It's probably not going to go to a running back that they don't trust as much as it would go to a well-seasoned vet like Landry.
Well, you got to look at it this way. Their number 1 wide receiver last year is their number 4 this year.
Yeah.
That's how much it's improved.
Yeah. Hutch, if you want to sign off here real quick, go ahead and go ahead.
Yeah, guys, I've got to sign off. I'm really sorry.
Hey, it's totally fine. We had a great time. I'm glad you came on 2 weeks in a row. But let them know where they can find you.
You guys go follow me on Twitter at HutchinsonB_FF. Check out Hutchinson Brown's Fantasy Football Perspective. It's the podcast I host. And I write with DLF. I make videos for the Football Guys YouTube channel. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You can find everything I do in the bio of my Twitter account. So, yeah.
There you go. Well, have a great night, Hutch. We'll see you out at the expo later in August.
Later, Hutch.
Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it.
Of course. Let's go back to Andrew Hall. Andrew, give us your draft.
Sure, yeah. So I chose the 5th spot because I was like, well, maybe I'll get lucky and Chase will fall to me. That was kind of my thinking. I'm like, you never know. Everybody's all over the place with him. But I'm happy to get Adams at 5th. I think that is a terrific value for that. And I think the value is the motto of this draft. I got Devontae Adams, A.J. Brown, Terry McLaurin, Drake London, Gabe Davis, Robert Woods, Tyler Lockett, George Pickens, Julio Jones, Wan'Dale Robinson. Those are all my guys. Like, this is crazy to me. Like, this is like, I love Devontae Adams this year. I think that there are very few receivers that are going to be as good as him. I made a trade in my home dynasty league where right after the trade, where he was traded or signed, I guess, by Las Vegas, where I sent Adams for a first and Devonta Smith, and the first became Drake London. So I was like, Drake London and Devonta Smith or Devontae Adams. And I'm like, man, I still feel like I'm okay with my side. I needed some depth. So, and I think Drake London's someone we didn't really talk about, but I think he's the top rookie in this class, taken 8th overall. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 if you don't count Pitts, right? Like, that offense is going to have to go through him. They've got Brian Edwards and Olamide Zacchaeus, I think, are the other 2 starting receivers. He's going to get plenty of targets. So I love getting him in the 4th round. Gabe Davis I took purely because he's got so much trade value right now. I'm a trading addict. I'm a junkie when it comes to that. In our podcast, Dynasty Junkies, we always talk about trading. Gabe Davis is going for crazy amounts of hauls in certain leagues, so I love him. I already talked about Woods being a potential wide receiver 1. I love Pickens and Robinson both as rookies with high upside. So I thought this team was just like this team of receivers was terrific. I'm very happy with the way this came out. So no, it's good to come on and dominate like this.
Yeah, and even at round 7 there with Tyler Lockett, at the very least you've got a really talented receiver. And for all, I mean, can't you see that maybe he might get traded still somehow, like before the season? Like, I could see that I could easily see that happening. If but either way, he's a talented guy, and we don't know how those targets are going to shake out. And for a flex, all it takes is the right matchup. So I'd be happy with that there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and we're all nervous about the quarterback situation in Seattle, but I think Lockett's still going to get his no matter who's throwing the ball. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah. All right, Zach Polowski, go ahead and give us a draft.
All right, so with my draft picks, for the most part, at least in the first 5 rounds, I went with guys that there was change in the air for each of these teams, kind of setting up new opportunities. I started off with CeeDee Lamb. Obviously, he's the clear wide receiver 1 now. I'm excited to see what he can do. There's a high floor, high ceiling as well, so I feel very comfortable getting him at any point in the first round in any format, really. I think, his ultimate floor can't really burn you. Then I went with Keenan Allen, another guy, pass first offense, and while there's not a lot of changes going on there, I really like what he can be this year. I'm a little concerned long-term with his age in dynasty formats, but I still think there's enough good, productive years at the top end where it's worth the pick. From there, DJ Moore, you have to hope that Baker Mayfield is anything better than what DJ Moore's had throwing him the ball these past couple of years. So I really like the upside there. I've already talked about Darnell Mooney and Rashad Bateman, but I feel great about the potential ceiling there. Christian Watson, that's been my guy. That's more so in dynasty rather than yearly. I have a hard time trusting rookie wide receivers in regards to immediate production. I think it's better to you want to bet on guys that you've at least see them do it at some level or in some capacity at the NFL level. And, rookies, there's a lot of guys I'm always high on that I want to believe in their long-term future, but if you're trying to compete immediately, it's tough to know when that production's coming. It could be second half of the season, or it could be year 2, year 3. Otherwise, from there, just took a lot of flyers, Russell Gage, McCole Hardman, Nico Collins, Sammy Watkins, guys that, wide receiver 2s, wide receiver 3s. I think the opportunity will be there. I don't necessarily know if they'll be the guy getting the ball, but later rounds, worth the shot. Not paying a lot.
Nico Collins seems like a steal to me. I mean, I know the Texans offense probably in reality is not going to be all that good, and it probably won't pan out. But I still like him as a receiver. And again at the price, everybody has value at certain prices. I will say, going back to talking about just rookie wide receivers, especially in redraft leagues, I find that it is so hard. You either have to draft one a little earlier than you want to, or in a lot of my redraft leagues, everyone knows that I'm coming for your wide receivers in the back half of the year, and they would rather go down with the ship than trade them away. If their team's dying because they've had this guy on their roster, they would almost rather go down with the ship than trade him away. So it's, for me, I almost just have to like full out avoid, because or you have to take one, get one really late, get some guys you like on the later end. Because if not, I'm just almost saving them for Dynasty, because really, it's so hard to acquire them once they get into that window of after their bye week and into the home stretch, especially if they've got a team that, you know, is going through injuries. That it just becomes too apparent, and they were already on top of it when they drafted them, you know.
Yeah, no, and someone like Nico as well. I just want to point out, you know, the ADP right now, there was about 25 wide receivers ahead of him when I took him at the 902 of this draft. So, you know, if you're drafting fairly soon for your whatever format, the ADP is probably not adjusted to calculate with the John Mechie news. So you might be falling down further in draft boards, and you can get a good discount there.
Well, we didn't quite get to 30 seconds each, but we're already here at the end. We're going to go through Burner. Burner, go ahead and give us your final draft here. I love Tyreek Hill you got at the very back there.
Okay, now I love Jalen Waddle, but Miami got a steal because they got the rat god, Tyreek Hill. Okay? You still got Tom Brady. No Gronk on the roster. Mike Evans is about to be a red zone monster. Okay? Now, I know what you're thinking. No Russ? Why would you take DK? But I'm going to take that pure athleticism and talent at 3-1 all day. When it comes to the Browns and Amari Cooper, he could be gold. Or he could end up in the pooper. Okay? When it comes to Burt, yes, it hurts. But you won't see me frown because this team wanted a rookie straight up over A.J. Brown. Okay? And I know CD's still there. And Cooper's gone. Damn it, I lost it. I had it so good.
Oh! Well, we've got to just end the show now, I guess.
Cooper's gone. You still got CD. Gallup is going to be the receiver 1B.
On the YouTube.
I like it.
I love it. There we go. Keep going.
Usually a team's WR3 kind of gets me annoyed, but I like the consistency of a Tyler Boyd. Okay? And I like ASB. I won't give him any flack. But Detroit is about to suffer a shark attack. Okay? And I also like Pittman, but I knew from the start that Matt Ryan was going to pierce me right through the heart. And I don't care what Shuey thinks. And Shuey, I don't care what you say, because I got the Ravens wide receiver 1, Devin Duvernay.
Oh, we waited all the way to the end, and the universe paid us off. So worth it. Oh, it paid us off. Oh yeah, I can't even argue with any of that because I would have to rhyme it, and I can't. I just can't.
That's right.
I thought the pause was for dramatic effect, though. I'm not going to lie. I was just waiting for the next rhyme.
I realized that I said it wrong, and I was like, "What rhymes with gone?" Damn. Okay.
Oh well. Yeah.
Well.
No, I love it. I loved it. Thank you.
9 out of 10 isn't bad.
If that rhyme alone was your offering, you've paid your way through this whole show. So there we go. Guys, it's been a real blast here. If you're out there watching, please make sure you subscribe to the Primetime Fantasy Network. Don't forget to sign up for Fantasy Football, the reality competition we're putting together. We're still accepting applications through the Fantasy Expo and beyond. But you can go over to the pinned tweet on my Twitter, Primetime Mock. You'll see it right there, and you'll be able to sign up from there. Other than that, let's go through our guests. Adam Siegel, let them know where they can find you.
Find me on Twitter at Always Auctions.
And where can they find your writing?
FFFaceoff.com. Got a new article just came out the other day, all about my July update for my over and undervalued players with AAV.
And now that I've found you, I'm using that AAV a little bit more. It's been a nice little tool, especially when I'm drafting against you, Adam. All right, we've got Steve Ramsbottom from the FF Faceoff as well. Go ahead and let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Keldon83 and my articles on FF Faceoff.
All right. thanks again for coming through. Again, I'll see you out there on the auction streets for sure.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. You know, I always love having new people. Adam and Steve both new to the show. Zach as well. And I try to bring this every show. If you're out there and you're interested in talking fantasy, no matter where you feel like you belong in the fantasy community, where you are, you're allowed here on Primetime Mock. We'd love to have you come on. Just come shoot me a DM. Mine are open, and we'll get you on. Andrew Hall, let them know where they can find you.
Sure thing. I'm on Twitter at Andrew Hall FF. I write for Fantasy Pros, and I do podcasting with Dynasty Junkies on the DAT Network. We tend to record every Thursday. We kind of cycle through. There's 4 of us that host. I'll be on tomorrow with Bobby Koch. Our guest will be the one and only Cooter Doodle, so that'll be hilarious. And time, everybody should stop by. And again, you can just find me on those mean Twitter streets, as I say. I always love a good conversation, a good debate. This is pure speculation season. Training camp is all about upside. Everybody is going to do great. Everybody's going to win their league. There's no negatives. It's terrific. So it's my favorite time of year.
It's the yes. No, nobody can be wrong right now.
That's right.
Nobody's wrong season. Zach Pulowski, let them know where they got you.
You can find me on Twitter at the Big Pulowski. Otherwise, bouncing all over the place on Going For Two. Do a whole bunch of shows over there. Always on different ones. Just trying to find any opportunity I can to talk fantasy football or sports in general. But no, thanks for having me. I need to finish up my Primetime my application for that competition. Or that
for
show.
fantasy football. Yeah. Oh, of course.
Yeah, Shuey's been telling me all about it. I mean, I met him in a different social game last year, and I need another one this year. I mean, I spent way too many hours on phone calls last year, so I need more. Got
to sign up for fantasy football. We put the pilot season together last year. Shuey was a part of it. Burner was a part of it. A lot of my friends and people I met out here in the Twitter space. We got 22 people together for the ultimate DFS and fantasy football reality competition. We had them all send and submit videos to me. It was a real riot, and we had a lot of fun. Really excited to push it into year 2, past the workshop phase as it was last year. We thank Hutchinson Brown for coming on. You could I don't have his Twitter to actually say what it is anymore. He gave
at
it to
Hutchinson B_FF, I think it was.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate you, man, and I'm sure Hutch appreciates you too. For my guys, Shuey, you can find him at Shuey_FF, at Burner of Stone for Clayton Stoneburner. Guys, it's always a pleasure hanging out with you. You know you're not company here, but we're always happy to have you.
Thanks, Mark. Looking forward to next week, my man.
Absolutely, and we're going to be moving on to the tight end position next week, which means we're going to be drafting a lot of deep and it's just a really gross draft. But it'll be a lot of fun. Really gross draft. You don't want to be drafting it, but you do want to be watching. So make sure you come back next week. We'll be back on Thursday. Have a great weekend, everybody.